Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Proponents of immigration change in the United States just got dealt a massive blow as part of the $3.5 trillion infrastructure package. Now, just to preface, many of you know, before I announce this news here, many of you know that as part of my campaign in California for governor, which was unsuccessful sadly, as part of the campaign, I was suggesting that, hey, one of the reasons we have a horrible illegal immigration problem is because our legal immigration process sucks. You need a lot of money, a lot of time, attorneys. You can only get sponsored by companies if you have a certain skill set or a certain degree or certain profession. It is very, very difficult. So for example, if I wanted to hire somebody right now from New Zealand and have them work here in California, I'd be able to provide them housing, a job, or whatever. It would be very, very difficult to actually get them to be here legally, unless, of course, they happen to be here and then happen to marry an American. Then they'd be able to slip into, well, America pretty much right away, which is crazy. I'm not suggesting people should go get married to stay here, especially since the U.S. government is on that, and they actually check and quiz people's relationships to make sure they're actually having a legitimate marriage, which is crazy. And then there's like this whole industry of kind of doing like fake photos for those people as well, and like fake trips, and it's like, it's nuts. The reason you have such big problems, again, in illegal immigration is literally because the legal immigration process is horrible. It sucks. So as part of Joe Biden's Build Back Better plan, he included a pathway to citizenship for about 11 million illegal or undocumented people living in America. And his pathway to citizenship or amnesty would have opened up a door for about 8 million of them, including 2.5 million working women. And of course, becoming a citizen or at least getting a green card gives you a social security number. It gives you the opportunity for better jobs, schools, wealth building opportunities, lowers the racial wealth gap. And sure, there are some undocumented individuals here now who do pay their taxes through a taxpayer identification number. Not having a social puts a lot of constraints on your ability to move up in society, especially in America. So the goal was carving out essentially a, quote, essential critical infrastructure workers pathway. So you would create this new category of undocumented workers. And as long as you were an essential critical infrastructure worker, like a farm worker, regular essential worker, well, there are a whole bunch of categories for these, not so important right now because of the ruling that just came out, those with temporary protected status or deferred action for childhood arrivals like Dreamers or DACA recipients, these folks would have all had an opportunity to get a green card. And then after a certain amount of years being here with a green card, you would become a citizen. I know that because that's exactly what I went through as a child. But anyway, the Senate parliamentarian, Elizabeth McDonough, just ruled that the Democrats are not going to be able to include this immigration reform as part of the $3.5 trillion stimulus package because Democrats are trying to pass the $3.5 trillion stimulus package via budget reconciliation. Budget reconciliation actually has to meaningfully affect the budget. And of course, the Democrats argued, well, it will. It's going to add about $137 billion to our deficit. See, it affects the budget. And of course, there was a positive argument as well that, hey, look, if we have a bunch more legal Americans with green cards or citizenship, we might actually be able to grow our GDP by $1.5 trillion over a decade, and that reforms could potentially add $150 billion in spending, which, of course, when you spend $150 billion, we have the velocity of money, and this is how you can raise your GDP by a larger number, like $1.5 trillion over 10 years, right? And so the idea was, look, it does affect the budget because immediately it's going to hurt our budget by $137 billion. But in the future, it'll make us some money back. It'd kind of be like making an investment. Personally, I kind of agree. I mean, the more people you have that are actually capable of operating in society, then generally the more you can grow your economy. The problem is really, though, a question of fairness. Should somebody who came here illegally and sort of worked under the covers of the existing broken immigration system we have be able to get a pathway to legal citizenship? Or should there be some kind of new citizenship option opened up, which was actually one of the things that I had proposed in California, that why don't we just have a thing where you can apply, and if you can come, and if you could prove that you can come to America from wherever you are, you don't already have to be here, you could already be here, but it should be fair to everybody else outside the country as well, right? Like, what about the people in Brazil who want to come here, or in Germany who want to come here, or in China who want to come here, whatever, who don't have a lot of money, but can get a job and provide value to society, why not create some kind of option for anyone to apply and get a response within like 2 to 4 weeks as to whether or not, hey, can we come here and get you essentially on the path to citizenship as long as you come here and provide value by providing labor, essentially. And look, we need labor here. People are like, no, immigrants shouldn't be taking our jobs. And I understand that argument as well. But the issue is we have a shortage of electricians, plumbers, contractors. We have a shortage of nurses. We have a shortage of farm workers. We have a shortage of a lot of jobs. And sure, the unemployment rate right now is a little bit higher, but that's also because a lot of the people who are unemployed don't have the exact skills that we necessarily need. And so this is where we also open up that can of worms of, well, we should probably fix our educational system and actually teach careers and financial education in our schools, so that way the people who are unemployed here can get skilled to provide value and go to work. But in the meantime, you'd think there should be some kind of door open for people who do have those skills to come here and actually work. But right now we don't have any of that. That's why we have such a disaster. That's why whether you're on the left or right, whether you're for immigration or against immigration, whether you're for, hey, kick the illegals out or keep the illegals here, whatever, calling them illegal or calling them undocumented, it doesn't matter, right? This is all just like jargon. The point is, the country's literally freaking failing, okay? Our schools suck and our immigration process sucks. If we could agree on those two things here, then we know those two problems create the vast majority of issues that we have in our country right now, specifically around careers, unemployment, education, and immigration. Very, very big. And so anyway, this here was an attempt to at least get some folks on the path to legal immigration. And so, of course, you've got Nancy Pelosi, the White House, Chuck Schumer, they're all disappointed. Chuck Schumer says, hey, look, we've had people working here who are undocumented. They put their lives on the line during the pandemic, and they remain locked out of federal assistance or federal help, whatever. By the way, some versions that have been negotiated as well is, hey, if people are going to come here and they want to be legal, have them waive their right to get any kind of social program assistance. Trust me, even if you did that, you'd have plenty of qualified people coming in here. But yeah, look, some people do need help as well. And so then it gets to that whole like social helping people aspect, which is like, oh my gosh, how do you balance all the madness, right? And at the moment, our government sucks so much, they can't figure out how to do anything. Budget reconciliation was clearly not the way, though, because as McDonough said, quote, such a change would far outweigh the budgetary impact scored to it and is not appropriate for inclusion and reconciliation. And essentially, she mentions, or what she's trying to convey is, look, if you're going to do immigration reform, don't just try to slide it in for one group of people and pretend that it's for the budget. If you're going to do an immigration bill, how about you work with Republicans, you work together in a bipartisan manner to get the 60 votes that you need in the Senate, and you actually do a real large immigration reform package rather than trying to squeeze immigration reform as sort of a, line item into a larger infrastructure bill, even though it is social infrastructure like the child tax credit and taxation and so on and so forth. So overall, big blow to advocates of immigration. Personally, I am a fan of big immigration reform, and I think we need it, but I think that door should be opened up fairly and equally for everyone. Again, like if you could come here and provide value, prove you can get a job, and not use social services, that door should be wide open for people. It's slammed shut right now. In the meantime, our schools suck and our existing immigration process is horrible. And so you have states like California where if you are undocumented, you can get a lot of benefits. Like in some cases, you can get full medical care, you can get other benefits. There's so much of a mess happening. It's not even worth going down that road right now. But this is also renewing calls again for ending the filibuster, which Democrats will not end the filibuster. It's just a great kind of way to kick and scream over, we're frustrated, we want the filibuster ended so we can pass whatever laws we want, with just 51 votes, which would be 50 Democrats in the Senate plus Kamala Harris. I do not see the filibuster ending anytime soon, because if they got rid of the filibuster, then and then let's say Republicans took power, they would just undo literally everything and they would have just as much of a field day, but it would go in the opposite direction, right? So that's where Democrats and Republicans, at least the higher up ones, have kind of come to that acceptance that, yeah, we're not going to end the filibuster. This is why you don't really hear Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, or Joe Biden talking about ending the filibuster. It's just something that's really popular for other individuals to talk about. So I don't think the filibuster is going anywhere. But anyway, this kind of gives you an update that bottom line out of all this, the immigration portion, the path to citizenship for those who are here and undocumented, dead, gone, not going to be included in this. And, if Democrats want to get something done, they've got about a year and a couple months to get it done before we've got those 2022 elections coming up. And I expect I expect Biden's going to have a lot of work to do to cling onto power because you've got full Democrat control right now, right? House, presidency, and Senate. And we've got some really close margins there in the House and Senate. So no matter which side you're on, 2022 is going to be a race to watch. We obviously also expect Donald Trump to be heavily involved in it, but we'll see what happens. The next presidential election isn't until 2024, but obviously Donald Trump, if he is going to run in 24, which we expect, would be heavily inclined to help bolster the odds of more Republicans winning in 2022, which could strip a lot of power from Biden, again, in as little as a year and a half. So we'll see what happens. I'm not really taking a side on the Dem versus Repub issue. I think I'm pretty neutral with my immigration comments as well, because I quite frankly think we can, probably 95% of us agree with what I said. But we'll see. I'll hear from you in the comments like I always do, which I appreciate. It's good. I like to hear what everybody else thinks. But anyway, I just want to give you this update. Thank you so much for watching. I forgot to pitch something in this video. Oh well, you know where the links are. Thanks, folks. We'll see you. Bye.